Amite County, ʻeɪ.mɛt, is a county located in the state of Mississippi on its southern border with Louisiana. As of the 2010 census, the population was 13,131. Its county seat is Liberty. The county is named after the Amite River which runs through the county. The name is derived from the French amitié, meaning friendship. Amite County is part of the ʻeɪ.mɛt micropolitan statistical area. History. After Indian removal in the 1830s, white European American migrants developed the county for cotton plantations worked by African American slaves. As a result, the county population was majority black before the American Civil War. White planters did well during the cotton boom, and cotton was the basis of the economy until the 1930s. Amite County was not in a theater of war of the American Civil War. A raiding party of Union cavalry under the command of Colonel Benjamin Grierson is known to have camped in the county 9 miles east of Liberty on the evening of the 28th of April 1863 while conducting a deep penetration raid as part of the Vicksburg campaign. At the end of the Civil War, Amite County's population was 60% African American. During Reconstruction, freedmen elected several African Americans to local office as county sheriff. After Reconstruction, white Democrats regained power in the state legislature through a combination of violent voter repression and fraud. They disenfranchised most African Americans and many poor whites in the state by the new 1890 state constitution, which imposed a poll tax, literacy tests, and other requirements as barriers to voter registration. These were administered by whites in a discriminatory way. Most black voters and many poor whites were dropped from the voter rolls. Racial violence, including lynchings, escalated during the Jim Crow years. Discriminatory practices, such as the white primary and economic boycotts, kept blacks excluded from the political process in the county and state until the late 1960s. African Americans were a majority in the state until the 1930s. Excluded from voting, they were also excluded from juries and the entire political system. The county continued to be based on agriculture, shifting to logging and dairy farming in the 1930s. As agriculture was mechanized, reducing the need for farm labor, many blacks left Amite County during the early 20th century in 2 waves of the Great Migration. In the first wave, many moved north to Chicago and other industrial cities of the Midwest. In the second wave, they moved to the West Coast, where the burgeoning defense industry in California particularly created jobs. From 1940 to 1960, the county population declined by 29%, as can be seen on the census tables below. Some rural whites also left the county. In the 1950s, local farmer E.W. Steptoe founded a chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in the county, and Herbert Lee, a married farmer with 9 children, was among its charter members. They were working to regain civil rights, including the ability to vote. In the summer of 1961, Robert Paris Moses from the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee worked in the county to organize African Americans for voter registration. He was beaten by Bill Custon, a cousin to the sheriff, near the courthouse, and arrested. He was told to leave the county for his own safety. In the 1960s, only 1 African American of the total of 5,500 in Amite County was a registered voter. Even after the voting rights law was passed in 1965, grassroots efforts were required to register eligible voters. Racial violence against blacks in the county escalated during the years of the Civil Rights Movement. On September 25, 1961, at the Westbrook Cotton Gin, about a dozen witnesses, both white and black, saw E.H. Hurst, a white state legislator, murder Herbert Lee, a married African American with 9 children. At the inquest that day, Hearst claimed self-defense, and witnesses, intimidated by armed white men in the courtroom, supported him. Learning that the federal government might hold a grand jury in the case, Louis Allen, an African-American veteran of World War II and witness to Lee's murder, talked to the FBI to try to gain protection if he were to testify truthfully to what he saw. They said they could not help him. Whites suspected he had talked with the FBI and began to harass him. His business was boycotted, and Allen was beaten and arrested more than once by the county sheriff. He stayed in the area to help his parents but planned to leave on January 31, 1964. He was shot and killed on his land. No one was prosecuted for Allen's death. Investigations since 1994 suggest that Allen was killed by Daniel Jones, the county sheriff and son of the Ku Klux Klan's leader in the county. Danny Jones was featured in a 2011 episode of 60 Minutes focusing on civil rights cold cases, but he denied an interview. He died in 2012 or 2013. Following the repression of the civil rights era and a continuing poor economy, younger African Americans continued to leave the county, seeking jobs in bigger cities. The population declined more than 11% from 1960 to 1970, and further declines occurred to 1980 because of the murders of Lee and Allen. Voter registration efforts had stopped in the early 1960s. African Americans did not register until after passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which provided federal protection and oversight. Today the county is majority white in population. Noted historic sites listed on the National Register of Historic Places include the Amite County Courthouse and the Westbrook Cotton Gin, the only one surviving of 7 in the county. In addition, 19th-century plantation houses and the Liberty and Bethany Presbyterian churches are included on the register. Geography. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the county has a total area of 732 square miles, of which 730 square miles is land and 1.5 square miles is water. Major highways adjacent counties: Franklin County, Lincoln County, Pike County, Tangipahoa Parish, Louisiana, St. Helena Parish, Louisiana, East Feliciana Parish, Louisiana, Wilkinson County, National Protected Area Homo Cheeto National Forest. Demographics. As mechanization of agriculture decreased the need for farm labor, the population has dropped since 1910 as people left in search of work in other areas. From a peak of population in 1910, the county had declined through 1990. In the early part of the 20th century, particularly from 1910 to 1930, and from 1940 to 1970, it was affected by the Great Migration of blacks out of the segregated society for jobs and opportunities in Midwest and later West Coast cities. From 1910 to 1920, the population declined more than 17%, as may be seen from the census table at right. Particularly in the early 20th century, blacks left to escape the oppression and violence associated with Jim Crow, lynchings, and the disenfranchisement after 1890. From 1940 to 1960, the population declined by more than 29%. Rural whites also left in those years, but a much greater number of African Americans migrated to other areas. After 1930, they became a minority in the county, comprising nearly 43% in 2000. As of the 2010 United States Census, there were 13,130 31 people residing in the county. 57.7% were white, 41.3% black or African American, 0.2% Native American, 0.1% Asian, 0.2% of some other race and 0.6% of two or more races. 0.8% were Hispanic or Latino. As of the census of 2000, there were 13,599 people, 5,271 households, and 3,879 families residing in the county. The population density was 19 people per square mile. There were 6,446 housing units at an average density of 9 per square mile. The racial makeup of the county was 56.42% white, 42.65% black or African American, 0.13% Native American, 0.08% Asian, 0.01% Pacific Islander, 0.21% from other races, and 0.49% from two or more races. 0.83% of the population were Hispanic or Latino of any race. There were 5,271 households, out of which 31.20% had children under the age of 18 living with them. 53.10% were married couples living together. 16.30% had a female householder with no husband present, and 26.40% were non-families. 24.50% of all households were made up of individuals, and 12.00% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.58 and the average family size was 3.06. In the county, the population was spread out with 26.00% under the age of 18, 8.50% from 18 to 24, 25.60% from 25 to 44, 24.60% from 45 to 64, and 15.30% who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 38 years. For every 100 females there were 93.30 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there were 89.80 males. The median income for a household in the county was $26,033, and the median income for a family was $31,256. Males had a median income of $28,306 versus $16,173 for females. The per capita income for the county was $14,048. About 19.30% of families and 22.60% of the population were below the poverty line, including 29.70% of those under age 18 and 22.20% of those age 65 or over. Communities: towns: Centerville, Crosby, Gloucester, Liberty. Unincorporated communities: Coles, Gillsburg, Smithdale, Ghost Town, Elysian Fields.